Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another Dokkan Battle video, and today I want to do a team building guide for the new Gogeta and the new Broly. So what I'm going to do in this guide is I'm going to talk about just general team building philosophy, maybe for beginners, and then I'm going to do a couple of team setups. So like for each unit, I want to do one or two just what I feel like are kind of optimal team setups if you have like all the units in the game. And then what I want to do is I want to show like just a list of a bunch of units I think are solid or like good options you can use on the team depending on what you have, because I don't expect every player to have the exact units I have. So I want to show you guys a lot of options and talk about some strategies and things you can do. And then for each team, I want to show a list of what I think are maybe the most viable free-to-play options in case maybe you're a brand new player and you don't have enough units to fully make a team. I'll give you some ideas and maybe some units you can go and farm up to try to help build a team with that, right? One disclaimer I'm going to say is that this is only going to include like the part 1 units. So yes, we know Beast, Gohan, and the Gammas are coming. They are going to be options on their teams as well. Beast is going to be like a really good leader. So what I might do is during part 2 is I might just make new lists with Beast and the Gammas. And what I'll probably do is I'll do a team building guide for each of them. And then Broly and Gogeta will be a part of their teams there. But for this team building guide, it's going to be for what we currently have. And it's going to be with Gogeta and Broly as the leaders. So let's go ahead and talk about that. So here's what I feel like would be a somewhat optimal Gogeta team you could run. And Gogeta now as the leader is only pure movie heroes, right? Obviously, if you look at this team build, like you could easily swap this for Beast Gohan, and you could swap like Gamma 2 here for the LR Gammas. That to me would like make this team nearly perfect. I think a lot better right there, right? So you'd run Gogeta. The year 5 Gogeta, I think, is good enough to run with his EZA. The problem is like until he goes blue, he's actually pretty weak. So you kind of want to hide him early, but once you get him to blue, him blue with this guy blue on the same rotation, like you're sharing like all of the links, and they're getting really crazy. So if you can get into a longer fight, I think this guy is actually good enough to run. I do not blame you if you don't want to run him. You definitely don't have to. There are other options, and we're going to talk about that. Orange Piccolo is still kind of just goated, so like if you can run him on a team, you probably want to do it. And then on this particular build, we have Gamma 1 and 2. Gamma 1 and 2, I'd say Gamma 1 is actually still like a premium defender, especially when the LR Gammas come out. So with the Gammas, you could choose to either float them or you could run them as a rotation. But what you would probably do with a team build like this, it would make the most sense, I think, you do the double Gogeta rotation and then another rotation of like this Gogeta with probably like this Ultimate Gohan. That way you got your powerhouses on rotation. Orange Piccolo floating is usually fine. You kind of just want to abuse his giant form, and he can sit in slot 3 and do that. And then the Gammas here, you could just kind of float them, not worry about their links. They are support units. And they are good enough. Like Gamma 1, he gets hit a few times. He gets tanky. He can defend. Gamma 2, like he has to attack the build-up, but if you have him in slot 3, he's going to attack. He's going to get his build-up. He's going to be defensive enough for most normals. And then if he does take like a ridiculous lethal super, he does have a counter mechanic where he can evade and counter that, right? So he does have a chance to live something lethal if it's the right type of super blast. I believe he nullifies Ki Blast super. So if it's a Ki Blast super, Gamma 2 can still win. So that's an example of a team build. Now, Movie Heroes does have a lot of good options, so I'm going to show you some other things you could run. So an example would be, I really actually like this Kid Trunks and this Goten. They just have like one kind of big flaw, and they have to be on rotation with another Goten or Trunks to be at max potential. But if you run them as a rotation together, they are 80% damage reduction after supering. Before supering, no matter what, they're 50% damage reduction. Now, the issue with running them on rotation together is somebody has to go on slot 1, and with 50% damage reduction, they could still easily get one shot. So that's kind of the issue with them, the thing stopping them from being godly, right? But if you get, some rotations where they're in slots 2 and 3, that's ideal because then they both get the super beforehand. They are going to be both 80% damage reduction, and they're kind of ridiculous. They also work with a Krillin on rotation, but we don't really have, I think, a good enough base Krillin that we want to run yet to like make them work. So just keep in mind though, like these two as a rotation, I think is actually kind of nasty. They're doing like 9 to maybe 15 mil attack stats, depending. When they super, they buff the rest of the rotation, so they're kind of nasty. I like them. This God Goku, he's always a good option to run, provided the fight warrants it. So as long as you're going against a movie boss or pure Saiyan, which I'm going to be honest, that's like a lot of the hard content right now, this guy is a really good option you can run. He's going to orb change, and he's going to have 77% damage reduction, or 70%, one of the two is. Yeah, 77% damage reduction. So just once again, the thing with him is it has to be a movie boss or a pure Saiyan, but otherwise this guy is actually probably premium to run. The only reason he doesn't make it onto my initial list is just that you might not always be going against that type of enemy, right? AGL Gogeta, I think, is still like a good enough unit you can run, and he's a very good linking partner with the main Gogeta. So if you're just focused on good links, this guy's very good. He's kind of shares the same issue as the year 5, where he's a little bit weaker early on. This guy, though, has 50% chance to dodge, like in this form, whereas the year 5 Gogeta only gets dodge in slot 3. So this guy can be a little bit more versatile, where you could open him in slot 2 and still like get some dodges that you need. And then when he transforms, he's 70% chance to dodge. Excellent linking partner. So I think this guy's actually definitely good enough that you can run. Super easy, Super Saiyan 3 Goku's just a solid unit you can run. Same with this Super Saiyan trio, they're definitely like a solid unit you can run there. Some more options. I think this Int Pan, she's a little bit more of a riskier run, but if you want to have like a nice floating support unit, that is what she is going to be, and she's just a dodge or die unit. So you just, if she dodges, you're going to do fine. If she doesn't dodge, she's probably going to get you killed, but she has a lot of built-in dodge. You want to give her a full dodge build. This guy's aged pretty quick, actually. This Super Saiyan Spirit Bomb Absorb Goku, but he is like a nice like orb changing option, and will have like a ton of Super Saiyan links. So like this guy with Gogeta pre-transformation will probably link up ridiculously well, and he's gonna provide a lot of orbs, so that like they're both gonna be getting like probably 24 key supers a lot. So he's definitely like a great option you can run. He's just not like the top tier option. Same with this guy. This Super Saiyan 3 Goku got his EZA. I definitely think he's runnable. He's just not like my favorite unit right now. I think he's like a big issue with him. You may intentionally not want the 18 key because he's way more defensive with that. But I just find him wonky, and I like all of the other Super Saiyan 3 Gokus better. I think these guys are still pretty good. They are a build-up unit, but once they build up, their attacks can actually get insane. They can rip off multiple 15, 16 mil attack stats. They get to pretty insane levels. So they're an interesting unit that I think you can run. Carnival Goku, I think you're only going to want to use him if it's like a longer event where he can really stack up. He does have a revive that can come into play, so that's good as well. So anytime you have like a solid revive unit, he's guarding and stacks defense. Like he's got a lot of good things. He just like aged out enough where he can get tagged early and just instantly die. This Piccolo I still think is a nice little support unit you can run. He is specifically built for movie heroes, so he works great on the team. He is like pretty tanky. It's just, once again, power creep has gotten to the point where this guy can't tank as well as he used to, but he is a fairly tanky support unit you can run. So I think that Piccolo is a good option. Now let's talk about some free-to-play options. One thing I just got to say this as well. There are like a lot of options for these teams, or a lot of units you can run, especially as a new player. And like, keep in mind, I'm trying to talk about units you can use in top tier content. There's a lot of units on these teams that are just fine for like mid-level content. And as a new player, you're gonna have so much stuff to clear. Like you're gonna be able to slap together just about anything. Just make sure that you're fitting on the leader skill, right? So what I want to give here are just free-to-play options of things that are fairly readily farmable. That, like, let's say you just physically don't have enough movie heroes, but you want to do a Gogeta-led team. This is like some units you can farm up to like fill out the team that might be okay, right? So I think this guy's very accessible. As a new player, it just depends on how quickly you build up your friend points, but this unit is on the friend summon banner. They're actually like a pretty decent little defensive support unit. Once again, this is just like a filler option you could use if you're desperate to fill out the team. I'd say this Gohan is actually a very easily farmable unit from a story event. Very easy to grind up, and I think he can do some solid things. He's from the superhero movie. The logging Gogeta, believe it or not, he's going to get an EZA. So he's not good right now, but he's going to get an EZA and actually be somewhat usable. So just keep this Gogeta that they gave you as a login unit. He's going to fill a spot for you. On this Gohan, he's a little bit of an exception. Like, I actually think he's really good. The problem is he's a world tournament unit, so most new players won't have him, but we did get a world tournament right before this. So I wanted to throw him on here just in the off chance that some of you maybe picked him up, and this is what his art looks like. So in case you maybe got lucky and pulled this guy on the World Tournament banner, I think he actually is a really good option. You just got to make sure you do his EZA. But he's a good support option you can run. This is a farmable Goku Gohan exchange unit that the reason I put them on here is they've got dodge. So any unit that has dodge technically is viable because they can live, right? So they're like a dodge unit you could potentially use. They're farmable from a story event. This Krillin is actually a fairly recent farmable unit, and I think he can be a capable option. He's more built for Earthbred fighters, so just know he's not going to operate his best on this team. But he does support Earthbred fighters in case you have any of those on the team. So that's some options there. So those are some options, but just once again, because there are so many options you can run, just because I don't mention a unit doesn't mean there aren't other options. There are more out there. And if you are wanting to know, or maybe you don't like the options I put out, or you just don't have anything here, feel free to join my Discord, which is posted in the description. You can post your box, and myself or someone else will help you kind of put together a team with what you got, right? Let's take a look at Broly. So now Broly, the thing that's nice about him is he's got 3 leader skills. So he's a lot more flexible on the units. He has a bigger, like a much bigger pool of units you can choose from. So with Gogeta, we specifically were only looking at movie heroes. But with Broly, we got transformation boost, super bosses, and full power. So this is an example of what I think like kind of a top tier-ish looking team might look like for Broly. Now keep in mind, this Vegeta and Broly, Chila, and Lemo, like the moment I'm recording this video, they're not good enough, but they're going to EZA, I think, in part 2 of the celebration. So just keep that in mind that they're going to EZA and they're going to be fairly optimal, like really good units to run. I think Super EZA Kid Buu is like anytime you can run this guy, I usually run him. He builds up to like really good damage reduction levels, and he's like got insane amounts of support. So love that Kid Buu, and he can hit hard too. And then Mr. Buu actually is another really good, and this is a free-to-play unit that I'm putting on like a top-tier build for Broly, but he is just so good. He double orb changes and has enough damage reduction to live like a lot of the game. So he's just insane, especially for units that need orbs. So on this specific team build, what we do is we run a Broly Gogeta rotation, and we would just run a Broly Evolution Blue Vegeta rotation is what we would do there. Pretty simple, right? Now for Broly, I actually did 2 team builds because I think like this is one option where you're just looking at like the full pool and picking the best that you can. But you could also do like a super bosses focus build, because there are units that kind of rely on super bosses. So we could do like this full like villain super boss build. So specifically what you get here is Physical Goku Black Super EZA is really, really good. He does want to be around super bosses. And then this Frieza, which was on Broly's banner, so you probably picked him up if you summoned a decent amount on Broly's banner. But he is also a super boss's support. He has damage reduction, but you always, like, there always has to be a super boss around when he floats. So the reason why I didn't say put Frieza on this team is you've got some super class units. So if you're not always going to have super bosses around, that Frieza might not be good. The Frieza, though, you could do on this team build. So let's say you want to do Frieza instead of Mr. Buu. On this team build, it would work because you're always going to keep Broly on rotation, which means you will always have a super boss. And having that Frieza float in slot 3 means he's going to get the damage reduction he needs. He does need some orbs as well. The only bad part is Frieza then would not like support the Gogeta and would not give support to this Vegeta, but would still be viable supporting Broly and being tanky, right? So that's why I maybe just didn't immediately put that Frieza out there, but as long as you plan it out and you've got a super boss, you're fine. Physical Rose, I think, is a really good on-rotation unit you could run. And so you could do like a Rose with like a Zamasu rotation. So like maybe these two. This guy's probably a good idea to keep on rotation because he stacks defense. But I just wanted a team featuring kind of like the core of the Zamasu units because I actually think they're all really good. I would say they are starting to age a little bit like the AGL one and this one. But they're still like, they still do fairly well. And I wanted to throw out this guy because he is featured on the banner. So a lot of you got him. He's definitely like good enough to run on the Broly team. I would not say he's like the top tier option to run, but he is definitely like a runnable unit, right? Okay, so let's look at some other options. Now, super bosses is kind of an interesting category because when you hear the word bosses, you think extreme class units, but there's actually a lot of super class units that are on super bosses, because super bosses just refers to basically like a a boss to Goku, right? Like somebody who is like against Goku in Dragon Ball Super. So Goku doesn't always fight against villains, right? Especially with the Tournament of Power. There are a lot of super class units that are kind of like they are bosses to Goku or villains to Goku. So they are on the super bosses team. So the Universe 6 units, a lot of them are on super bosses. So something I want to throw out is Kefla is actually a really good super bosses unit you can run. When she starts going Super Saiyan, she will share some links with Broly, so you could even run her on rotation with Broly, and she's actually really, really good. You could, as an option, put together some Kefla rotations or U6 rotations. So STR Kale and Tech Caulifla are really good options you could actually toss onto Broly's team. Tech Caulifla you only want to use if the event allows dodging. But if you're going against Universal Survival Saga or Pure Saiyan, she will just guarantee dodge. So I would say if the enemy you're fighting is one of those two things, you could just slide her on the team for a guaranteed dodge character. Kale wants to be on rotation with a Caulifla, so like I would only run Kale if you can put this Caulifla on the team and kind of run them together, because Kale stacks defense pretty fast and guaranteed guards if there's a Caulifla, and you want the guaranteed guard, otherwise I don't think she's worth running. So it's kind of like a niche combo, but it is something you can do on the Broly team. I think, you know, if you want to just buff Kefla's links too, like just throwing like Caulifla with Kefla to give her links and then guarantee dodge, that can be a decent option as well, right? I like STR Super Vegeta. I think he got a really nice EZA. Hits ridiculously hard, guaranteed crits. Can't go wrong there. I think Int Gotenks is still really good. And Int Gotenks and STR Kefla, they are actually good rotation because they have like fusion links that they share actually a decent link set. And what's nice is they both start base together and then they kind of go Super Saiyan together and they get the Super Saiyan links around the same time. So they just kind of like link decently well like the whole way through. So I actually like them as a rotation. And then once again, the Super Saiyan 3 Goku, another option you can run. More options because Broly... you know, we got a lot more options to talk about. So the year 5s, I think as a rotation, or if you just want to do, say, like Gogeta with Gogeta, something like that, that works. Just keep in mind, year 5s are pretty weak early on. You kind of have to hide them until they can get transformed, right? You can also do stuff with Boo units, because transformation boost, that hits all these Boo units. So if you want to make Boo rotations, you can do that. Now, we already talked about Physical Kid Boo as just a nice support unit. But you could really juice it up with some Boo units and get some good links as well. So the Int Boo that just came out, Physical Boo tanks, I think is actually like a premium option you can run. I think this Boo with all the damage reduction, you could run them as well. So really good options there. And then we have AGL LR Golden Frieza, just like as a good damage reduction unit. I would just avoid him in really long fights because he gets weaker as the fight goes on. And then kind of to couple with this, there is a banner unit AGL Golden Frieza and then a Tech Golden Frieza that they're just kind of damage reduction units you could toss on the team if you just need to fill a spot to eat some damage. You could do that. And then more units because this team is just loaded. This is an excellent unit that's going to EZA, so just keep in mind, it's kind of like Evolution Blue Vegeta. They're not great now, but they're going to EZA and become very, very good. We've talked about this Gogeta before as just a viable option that you could run with Gogeta or with Broly. This Tech Vegeta, Premium Dokkan Fest, very, very good unit. He's runnable on this team. He's a great unit you can run. He's one of the better Dokkan Fest that released this year. Of course, Orange Piccolo, because he's Orange Piccolo. Actually, I think I mentioned him earlier and just put him on here again. Sneaky pick here, but this Super Vegeta banner unit with his EZA is actually pretty dang good. As a support unit, he's got defensive tech to help him kind of live. He's got damage reduction. And he's got 2 support passives that will either, like, one half of his passive will hit everybody. The other half will hit AGL, STR, or physical type units. So, yeah, just a nice support unit that can live with some damage reduction. I think this is a guy that maybe doesn't get talked about enough. That is actually a really nice support unit. So, definitely if you have him, you could run him. And then Hirudegarn. Hirudegarn is just a villain boss unit that you can run, and he's got damage reduction, or not damage reduction, but just dodge, right? So he's just a dodge type of unit that you can run on the team. So once again, tons of options there. Now the part where Broly lacks a little bit is the free-to-play options aren't that great. I would say your best 2 free-to-play options are the ones they're giving us this celebration. So Sleepy Beerus here, he will awaken into an LR in EZA. I think he's probably going to be the best free-to-play unit you can put on the team. And then this Frieza is going to eventually awaken, and I believe he EZAs as well. He will be an option for the team. But the other free-to-play options, I'm going to be honest, are not great. Like, Gogeta had better farmable options, I would say, because, like, this guy here is a World Tournament unit. I just put him on here because he's an orb changer. There's also a Jackie Chun World Tournament LR that he can get some damage reduction in slot 3 if he, like, supers, but, like, he's like a World Tournament support, doesn't really fit the team at all. So these would just be like bare bones, like I just need to put something on the team type of units. But odds are, before you have to go to this, I mean, if you summon enough on the banners, you probably hit one of the banner units I talked about, or there's just another banner unit that fits on the team. These guys are from Ultimate Clash, which they're not ideal either because they're really expensive to buy. And newer players are going to have trouble earning that currency. So, like, they're not even that great, and they're not that farmable, right? I would say, like, outside of the Beerus and Frieza, like this Mecha Frieza from the Super Strike is a very easy farmable option. He just operates really good if he's next to like that King Cold Super Strike, but King Cold isn't on the team. So this Frieza would just be like a filler body for now. You definitely don't want to keep him on the team, but just if you're desperate and just want to run Broly's team and don't physically have enough units, like you could farm this guy and get it done, right? So anyways, guys, there you go. That's the video. Let me know what you think about these teams. And once again, just because I didn't talk about a unit doesn't mean that there aren't other options. What I will do here at the end is just for like very beginners, just explain to you kind of like how to search and build out a team, right? So the first thing you need to know is that the top left unit is your leader. So you want to make sure that they are the ones with the good leader skill. And then what you want to do is you want to sort by that leader skill. And I'm going to do Broly as an example because I actually just streamed recently and I had some a newer player that was kind of confused on like the sorting mechanic in there and like how do I figure out who's on the team. So I want to explain that. So let's say we're going to build a team for Broly, right? So this is the way I team build is I choose a unit that I want to be my leader. You want to make sure when you look at any unit in your box, you click on the leader skill and make sure it's a good one. I would say at bare minimum, you want a 170% leader skill or better. Now, Broly is what we would call a 200% leader, where he has 3 categories that he does 170 for, but then some categories that get an extra 30%, which make it a 200 for those. If you're doing a leader like this, not every unit has to be getting all 200. Just focus on like the 170 leader skill and build a team off of that. And then some of your units will get the 200, some won't. The Carnival LRs like Gogeta, they only get 1 leader skill, but it's like just flat 200. So you don't have to worry about like hitting multiple categories. So that's kind of nice there as well. So Broly, his leader skill, if we go here, Super Boss's transformation boost and full power. So what you want to do is if I want to go in to build a team here, right? Like I could go to just like a new slot here. So let's just go to like, sure, we'll just go to this back slot. Remove all the units. Okay, and let's say, so you go in here and this will be clear. So what you do is you click on this yellow button that says attack in the bottom right. And then you want to select what category you want to get. So Broly is full power. So I can search and I can just look up full power. And he was, I can go into the search bar, just keep adding categories. He was super bosses. Okay. And he was transformation boost. So you want to make sure, like as a new player, when you're building a team, you can't just slap a bunch of units together. You have to make sure you have your leader in the upper left, and every unit on the team should fit on the leader skill. Okay, so we're going to click OK. So now you can see I have 3 categories selected. Now where someone in my chat got confused is they didn't understand what this meant. So if we go into here where I'm like picking the categories, at the top you have the option to do full match or partial match. There's a huge difference between it. Full match means if you pick multiple categories, the unit will be on, the only units it's going to show you are units on all of those categories. So if I click OK, you're going to see the unit list is very small. Okay, there's only, what, a handful of units here, but these are the only units that are on all 3 of Broly's categories. Being on multiple of the 170 categories doesn't give you more boosts. It doesn't matter. You only want to be on one of them. Okay, so the only time you want to do full match like this is if you're picking one of the 170s and then maybe one of the 30s and you're trying to see like who's on the 200. So what you realistically want to do for Broly here is you want to pick partial match. Partial match means if the unit is on any one of the 3 categories you selected, it will show it to you. So by picking partial match, I get a big list like this. These are all of the units that on Broly will get at least a category that has a 170% leader skill. Okay. So then what you do is you go through this and you start to pick your team. So what you want to do is Broly needs to go first. And then you look through your box and you pick what other options you want to run your team. The order of the rest of the team doesn't matter. You can put it in any order you want. It doesn't matter. When you go into a fight, it'll always randomize the order of the units. The only thing that matters is that first unit has to be your leader. And then you look through your box and you can kind of build your team out from there. So anyways, guys, I hope this team building guide helps. Thanks for watching. We'll catch y'all on the next one.